Welcome to Biblio Madness, a podcast where we discuss our current and favorite reads. I'm your host, Rachel.
And I'm your host, Laken. And on today's episode, we are going to be jumping into our very much anticipated and what we're looking forward to read in 2024. This will be a list of kind of a mix-up of what we're going to be reading for the podcast for you guys, and then a little bit of our own personal
TBRs
as well.
Yeah, we got a lot on here from genres from fantasies, sci-fi fantasy, romance thrillers. So we're going to dive into all of them today in this episode.
This show is intended for mature audiences. Topics of adult content, triggers, and explicit language may be discussed with or without warning. All thoughts and opinions belong to our hosts and do not reflect the original creator's own intentions. Spoilers for the book will be discussed, and while most discussion will revolve around the picked book, we do not guarantee there will be no spoiler warnings for other books or series. Listener discretion is advised.
And we'll start off real quick with fantasy, because that's our biggest genre that we have currently.
Our biggest one.
So I think both of us have Swordcatcher by Cassandra Clare on our TBR. For those on YouTube, you can see I am holding the book. I luckily do have a copy of this. I am very grumpy, though, because she showed me a gorgeous, and I do mean gorgeous, copy of this book that I was trying to purchase, and I could not get it to go through. I think it was
the Illumicrate exclusive edition.
Yeah, I don't know if I was traveling at the time. I think I was.
Maybe you were.
And I couldn't get it to load. And when I finally got it to load, it was sold out.
Yeah.
So that's okay. I do have a copy of it. It's not the fancy or any fancy edition by any means, but it has the same words on the page, so that's what matters.
Yes.
So
it is. I'm really looking forward to this one. It's been an anticipated read for me for a long time because I grew up reading. Well, I say grew up. I was in middle school and high school when I read her other series, and loved them. And this is her high fantasy debut. Yeah. So I am really excited. It has been reviewed by George R. Martin as well.
Yes.
So hopefully good things.
We actually got some bigger names back here.
Yeah.
You have Holly Black.
Holly Black is
Leigh Bardugo.
I don't know how to
pronounce her last name. I'm so sorry. We're just gonna throw it. Kelly Link, Scott Lynch. Scott Lynch is good. Mm-hmm. So there's some good recommendations on here.
There are some good recommendations for this book. So hopefully it lives up to the hype. I'm excited.
I'm not gonna lie. I just opened the book and I didn't realize that it had inner artwork like this.
Yeah, the map.
The map, and there's the arena, the academy, the fountain quarter, high temple. I'm excited.
I do think this book has a lot of potential. Cassandra Clare is in my mind a good writer. So.
Oh, I love her writing. Yeah. I'm not gonna get I think Laken may have a misconception that I don't love Cassandra Clare.
It's just because she's not read all the books.
That I don't love her. It's just that I haven't read all of her books.
Yeah.
So I get hate on that. I do love the City and Bones series. Shadowcatchers is one of my favorite. I think I lost interest, and it's not the book's fault. Yeah. It's the TV show's fault. I watched the movie, and I was like, ugh.
That's your first mistake.
And then I watched the show, and I was like, ugh.
The show had such great promise, and it fell through
so far, and I'm so sorry, but her brother, or her half-brother, or whatever that was.
Are you talking about Jay?
Yeah, he's
Sebastian?
not. That actor was not what I pictured him as.
No, it's okay. It wasn't either.
In either the movie or the film. And not to say neither of these men are good-looking. If you are out there, you're fine. I have no issues with you. You're just not what I pictured of what I expected.
Yeah. This is not like a Harry Potter Hunger Games Percy Jackson.
No.
The movies and the TV series absolutely slandered.
They're so bad. It was so bad. And the concept's great. The execution is terrible. And I don't think that's on Cassandra Clare at all. I can't speak today. I've decided that my speech is gone. It's not on her at all. And I do love her writing. And the first book was fantastic. I actually have a special edition that
I know. I've actually really
she's jealous of. But it got ruined at my wedding, and I'm really sad about that.
Yeah, I got the candle wax on it, didn't I?
Somebody spilled candle wax. My wedding had all of my books scattered across the tables for decorations, as well as some of my friends' books, because my collection was not this big. I had everybody bring their hardbacks, and we put them on the tables, but one of my copies got ruined.
It was very Alice in Wonderland.
It was.
A little bit. Like, enchanted Alice in
Yeah.
Wonderland.
It was inspired off of Harry Potter was the vibe we were going for, so
Oh, I can see that too, with the candles.
All of the books around the main table of the bridal party. and we had like wine bottles everywhere. It was a fun wedding.
We got to drink a lot of wine. And
oh yeah, told all my friends, I was like, guys, for my wedding, I have one request: drink a lot of wine and bring me the bottles because I need to decorate with them.
That's
so
funny.
We had tubs full of wine bottles getting the labels off for my wedding. I still do have some of those wine bottles. Yeah. But on to our next fantasy. Go ahead.
Which one are we? We have so many. I don't know.
Throw one out. That's fine.
Let's see. Another one that we are both looking forward to reading. Which is a lot more than just one book for you.
Oh yeah, it is a lot more than one book.
Right, but the most anticipated book I feel like for pretty much everybody that reads fantasy, or at least Sarah J. Maas, is The Third Crescent City, House of Flame and Shadows. This has been a highly, highly anticipated book. Like,
so highly anticipated. I haven't read the Throne of Glass series, and I have to read all of them before I read the newest book.
I have warned her, and for those of you that have not read anything other than ACOTAR or Crescent City, Throne of Glass, I feel like you should read before the Crescent Cities. We do not have any, like, confirmation. There's a lot of, like, fan theories and speculations that we might see, like, a multiverse or crossover. It's not been confirmed. I'm not spoiling anything by telling you to read the series first. It's just in case they pull characters from it, and I want you to know
so much reading to do, guys. The amount of reading I have to do is insane. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Yeah.
Before I get to the
third, so it'll be 11 books all in all.
The 11th book.
Luckily, these all go very quickly.
And luckily, I've read ACOTAR, because if not...
Yeah, you'd be having like a 15.
I'd have to read ACOTAR. Is ACOTAR before or after Throne of Glass? Or congruent with each other?
I can't say.
You don't know?
I do know.
But you can't tell me.
I can't tell you.
But if you were to... If for our listeners reading, which would they have to read first? Or is it a middle?
You can read either or first.
Okay, that's the answer.
In both of the last books, in Silver Flames and in Kingdom of Ash, there is one scene in which things are hinted, but you could read either or first. It doesn't matter. Okay. It's not a huge spoiler.
Okay.
Read ACOTAR before you read Crescent City, though. If you've not read A Court of Thorns and Roses and you're wanting to pick up the new Crescent City book, do not pick it up until you've read ACOTAR.
Or pick it up and put it on your shelf, but don't read it.
Yeah, don't read it.
You can buy books. Buying books is not reading books. Those two things are two different hobbies, everybody out there.
You have to read all 5 of them before you read the Crescent City.
Yeah. There's hobbies, 2 different hobbies. You either read books or you collect books, and sometimes you're the mix of both, and you're
that would be
you
us.
do both. And that's fine. I do that. I have books on the shelf that I have not read, but I do read most of them.
Yeah. The goal is to one day read all of them.
Yes, that's the goal. It will happen. All right, so for me, Crescent City is also on my list, but we have Throne of Glass. I have to read all of them before Crescent City releases. So I have a lot of reading to do.
Yes.
So we'll see how this goes. We're going to be reading at least a book a day, I feel like, is what's going to happen.
You have so much to do. We're not reading I think, even though the Third Crescent City comes out at the end of January, we're not doing what we did with Iron Flame and reading it the next week. I think we have decided to do it in March.
Yes.
So it gives everybody out there enough time to read. And
it
gives you enough time to read.
We'll probably do before Crescent City. We're planning on doing a recap episode of going over the Throne of Glass and ACOTAR series before we hit the newest book, just like we did with Fourth Wing. We did a Fourth Ring and Iron Flame recap, like the Fourth Ring recap before Iron Flame. So everybody could kind of go in and read and be like, oh yeah, this is all what's going on and this is where stuff is at. Mm-hmm. Just that way, because we know there's a lot who've already read these series. They want to listen to a recap before you read a new book. I want to, like, when the new Loki series came out, I liked the recap. It helped me because I was like, oh, that's what happened last season. Yeah. Cool. We're doing a little bit of a recap for that. But the next fantasy we have on our list, and this is one we're doing for the podcast, is Puppy War. This was an old book talk. I want to say an old book talk.
It's been around for a while. I haven't seen it become a bigger thing or being big talked about until like the past year, and then people are like, "Oh yeah, this book series is really great."
And I'm excited because I like politics. We've talked about politics a lot. I was a little let down with Court from the Crave series for the political point of view, so I'm curious to see. I have 2 very political fantasy books on here, to my knowledge. I've been told they're political, so Poppy War is one of them, and I've been told they're one of the better books. I'm very excited.
I have highly anticipated reading this series for a long time, so I'm excited that we're actually going to get to it.
So I'm going to see if I can find a brief summary of Puppy War while you continue speaking.
It is it's a trilogy, so there's 3 books, which I think, in my personal opinion, is like the perfect length for me. Like, I love a good trilogy. It's such a good size. It's not too intimidating. You're reading the
I was reading.
synopsis. Yeah.
I was going to read it out loud, but then I saw a lot of words that I'm probably going to mispronounce, so I was probably going to hand it over to Laken.
I think this is an Eastern-based, like I don't know if it's Chinese-based or
Asian-based. I don't know.
I know it's Eastern, so where is it at? Okay.
It's the top. It's the
It says, the book follows Fang Runin, a peasant girl who's accepted to Seingard or Sinegard Academy. I don't know how you pronounce that. She discovers a mysterious power and trains to become a shaman to a vengeful god, the Phoenix. When war breaks out between her home country of Nikon and the Federation of Mugen, Ren must quickly become a hardened soldier.
A lot of words in this book I'm not going to know how to pronounce. Is that okay?
Yeah, this happens a lot with fantasy.
Happens a lot with me, specifically.
Hopefully there's a pronunciation guide.
Hopefully, like, you were like Singard, and I was like, that's not how I would have pronounced that at all.
I don't know.
Shaman.
However.
I like shaman. It's not how you're supposed to say it, but
Is it not? How do you say it?
No,
shaman?
It's shaman's right, not with a British accent's wrong, though. Because I said it with a British accent. I was messing with you.
Oh, sorry, this is completely unrelated, but have you seen the thing going around about people, how do you pronounce mauve?
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 Yeah.
Apparently mauve is not the right way to say it, and that's how I've always pronounced it.
You've pronounced it mauve how?
Mauve.
That is another topic for another time. I'm not sure how I feel about that, Laken. You've been pronouncing mauve?
Mauve.
Like mauve?
Yeah.
Your whole life. The whole time.
If you want to know, I have had so many words that I have mispronounced because I grew up reading them and not like ever hearing them like said, so
mauve.
I have a whole list of words that you all would be really funny to hear how I pronounce them.
I'm just intrigued by mauve. Like, okay.
Mauve?
Yeah.
Doesn't feel right.
Mauve does?
Yeah, dude, I'd get a kick.
Alright, on to another fantasy read, because we're in our fantasy section. I think this is my last one for just strictly fantasy. Just strictly fantasy, not romance fantasy, not sci-fi fantasy, or anything like that. Just strictly fantasy. My next book is Red Rising, which I personally don't own yet, which is weird, because most of the books I want to read I own.
I don't own it either.
And I really do want to read Red Rising. I've heard a lot about it. A lot of people loved it, and they were like, this is one of the best books ever, which happens a lot with a lot of books. And I'm like, guys, we can't say every book's the best book ever.
I feel like I fall into that trap a lot.
It's like, not every, it's a new, fun book. But Red Rising is a 2014 dystopian science fiction. Hey, it's science fiction.
It's science fiction.
Whoa! Wow. We didn't know this.
We're doing science fiction for January, so that's why we're a little...
So now we're going into sci-fi instead of fantasy. Oopsie doopsie. We're in sci-fi. Okay. So Red Rising is a 2014 dystopian science fiction novel by American author Pierce Brown, and the first book of the epony of a series. Novel set in the future on Mars follows low-burn miner Darrow as he infiltrates the ranks of an elite Golds. I'm pronouncing that right. I don't know what that means, but we got it. Red Rising has received generally positive reviews. Yeah, it's got 4.3 out of 5-star reviews on Goodreads and 4.4 out of 5 on Barnes & Noble. It's a multiple book series, but it is science fiction, which is new to both of us.
Yeah.
Because we both thought it was fantasy for so long. So I'm going to put a little S next to this, so it's science. Fantasy.
So funny.
Whoops! But in the sci-fi fantasy, we do have another book, but I think we're going to have to jump back into fantasy for Laken, because I think she has another fantasy book. Do you?
I have a ton of fantasy books on
Did
here,
you categorize them by fantasy, like romance fantasy versus fantasy? Because I have 2 on mine that are romance fantasy and not fantasy.
I feel like this one, I don't actually know that much about it. I think this is mainly a fantasy. And
which is it? I don't think I have it on my list, so you can go ahead.
The Jihad Air. I know it's recently come out. It was really big. It's Egyptian, I think.
Ooh.
It's like an Egyptian timeline. It's an Egyptian fantasy written by, I think, an Egyptian author. I might be wrong about that. I'm sorry if I am. But I do know it's Egyptian fantasy, so
How do you spell
I've heard
this?
it's really good. And I'm excited. It's Jahad.
Jahad.
Yeah. I've seen really good reviews from it from the people that have read it. So
The Jasad heir.
is it Jasad or Jahad?
Jasad.
Jasad. I got it wrong.
Look at us knowing things. We're so good at it, guys. It's awesome.
It's fine. Yeah.
Summary.
I feel like it would be something a little bit different than what I'm used to, so I wanted to read it. Eventually.
I have the summary ready. It's a fugitive queen strikes a bargain with her greatest enemy that could resurrect her scorched kingdom or leave it in ashes forever in this unmissable Egyptian-inspired epic fantasy debate 10 years ago. The kingdom of Jasad burned. Its magic was outlawed. Fantasy. Definitely fantasy. Red Rising is the Mars, so sci-fi. My bad. Again, apologies for that. What other fantasy books do you got on your list?
Another one, if you want to look up the, I don't know.
I can look it up.
Whichever this is a new one I've been seeing around. I've not seen too much about it, but everything I have seen about it has been like, everyone said it's amazing. So, Powerless. It's a fantasy book. I don't know whether it's romantic fantasy or just like fantasy, but I think it's romantic fantasy.
Let's see. Powerless book.
Powerless.
For some reason, who's the author?
I don't know. It's got a.
Is it Lauren Roberts?
I don't
Powerless
know.
with the little dagger?
Yeah, it's black and got a yeah.
Alright, summary. This is a long summary.
It's okay, you don't have to read it.
I'm gonna see if I can sum it up. Only the extraordinary belongs in the kingdom of Ilia. Red Queen meets the Hunger Games in the most epic and sizzling fantasy romance book of the year.
It was compared to the Hunger Games.
So that's exciting. I'm gonna add that to my TBR.
Yeah.
Don't mind me. What was the name? Powerless. Also, if you look up Powerless summary, you're gonna get a summary of superheroes and being powerless. So don't forget to write the author's name or write book in there because I just failed really hard. So that's romance fantasy. So we can go into romance fantasy because we have Divine Rivals next. Is on here as well.
I wanted to read this one so bad this year and just never got around to it. But it was Divine Rivals started getting big around the time Fourth Wing started getting big, and it quickly got, I feel like, overshadowed.
Because how could you not going against Fourth Wing?
Like, we all know the phenomenon that happened with Fourth Wing. But everything I have seen and heard from people that I've recommend books with all the time and recommend to me have said that this is an incredible series.
Yes.
Well, the second book I think is coming out. So.
Yes, you are correct on that. Yeah. This is by Rebecca Ross. Divine Rivals is a novel. It is a romance fantasy. Summary is when two young rival journalists find love through a magical connection, they must face the depths of hell in a war among gods to seal their fate forever. After centuries of sleep, the gods are warring again, but 18-year-old Iris Winoa? I'm going to go with that. That's probably wrong.
I'm not looking at it. So.
Just wants to hold her family together. This is giving Persephone and what's the guy's name?
Hades?
Not Hades. Not Persephone. What's
Poppy?
No. It's Hades Town, but the couple.
Eurydice
and Orpheus. It's giving Eurydice and Orpheus vibes where to seal their fate forever through the depths of hell.
Yeah. I'm so excited for it. I feel like, first of all, I want to mention how similar, since I just said that Divine Rivals and Fourth Wing were becoming big at the same time, the authors' names are so similar. We have Rebecca Ross and then Rebecca Yarros.
Yeah, could you imagine?
Like, wow.
How do you go against that? That's so hard as an author.
Yeah. But I'm really excited for it. I have a deep love for journalism and writing, so I'm excited to see a different little twist to fantasy.
I am also excited. I have this on my TBR as well, and these might be books that end up in the podcast. Maybe they don't. We'll see. We're changing things up. We'll talk about that at the end, of how the podcast is going to be going. But outside of romance fantasy for divine rivals, we also have my anticipated, which she just told me is releasing, the Primal Blood and Bone, the new From Blood and Ash book that's releasing in 2024.
It's the
sixth book.
Maybe the end. I'm not sure. I'm hoping it's the end. Please let it be the end.
No, nothing against a long series, but
I feel like their story needs to be wrapped up.
Yeah, I agree.
I know why she started the prequel series before, but I'm a little annoyed that it was a different series started before the other one did.
Yeah, it's been a hot minute with them. I still need to finish.
I'm still gonna read it, so.
But we're still gonna read it. I love Poppy and Cass. I do. We mention them all of the time. If you haven't heard us talking about Poppy and Cass in the podcast,
yeah, we refer
just go back. You'll notice it a lot. Okay, there's a lot of Poppy and Cass talk about.
Yeah.
Poppy we talk about when we get annoyed with inner monologue. Poppy gets mentioned when we're like, man, this guy doesn't match up to Cass. He doesn't have the kinks. It's From Blood and Ash. That's where we're talking about. Cass is my favorite still currently.
Yeah.
She is a Xaden and Rhysand lover. I don't like Rhys that much. I like Az from there more. I also don't like Freyra that much.
Yeah.
So neither of those characters I'm in love with, but I do love me some Cass.
I do love Cass still. He's not the top for me, but he's up there. It was like Delano from Blood and Ash, the White Wolf. He's my favorite character. He's not a main, and he's gay, so. But he is my favorite.
To mention now, Laken's favorite men character, always gay. She can never have them. She doesn't supply what they want.
Jackson is no longer my favorite character. He has a special place in my heart. I feel like Grace with him. You know, it's like I'll always have a special place.
Who's your favorite right now? Is it Hudson?
Yeah.
Okay.
I do love Hudson.
You can't not love Hudson. He's Taryn young. He's young Taryn. You don't get mad at young Taryn.
Yeah. He has a special place in my heart.
I swear to God, Hudson turned into a dragon after being a bat for so long and just became Taryn.
Do you know how funny it is after what happened in court that we compare Hudson to a dragon and Jackson is actually...
I know. It's fine. It's fine. All right. So, outside of romance fantasy, we have, going back to sci-fi fantasy, or sci-fi, I think it's just sci-fi. Red Rising, of course, sci-fi, Mars vibes. We have Starbringer, which we bought this book. I don't even know if you own it. Do you own it, or did I do it? Okay, we both bought this book a long time ago.
Mm-hmm. When we first picked up Crave.
Yeah, when we first saw that was a Tracy Wolf book. Yeah. And can you actually hand it to me for a second? It's right behind her. If you can't see, if you're not watching on YouTube. There is a warning in this book, but this is supposed to be a Guardians of Galaxy vibe.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Which makes me really excited because I love Marvel.
I have not read a sci-fi book since probably middle school.
Yeah.
Or actually, that's wrong. It was when I last tried to read Dune. That was the last sci-fi book I read.
There's a warning in here, and this warning was like... There's a warning in Fourth Wing, but this warning is long.
Yeah.
So, Starbringer is a thrilling sci-fi adventure romance with a heart-stopping twist. However, the story includes elements that might not be suitable for all readers. Graphic violence, graphic language, shootouts, hand-to-hand combat, perilous situations, blood, human trafficking, suicide, imprisonment, gunshot wound, death, human experiments, bombing, alcohol use, sexual activities are shown on the page. Readers who may be sensitive to these elements, please take note and prepare to join the ragtag crew of the Starlight. There's so much that's going to happen in this book, and I'm happy because it's a standalone book.
Yeah,
I'm so excited for that.
High hopes for this book. So you all know, if you've been here for any time, how much we both love the Crave series.
Yes.
As much as we love the Crave series, this is one thing I keep saying about it, is how juvenile the writing is. This is an adult series. This is an adult book.
She's partnered with Nina Croft.
So, we're very highly anticipating this book. And it'll be...
Siri found something, apparently.
Scared me. I'm just like, there's the voices! We're starting off our year with this, so...
Yes, I'm very excited for this book. I've been anticipating this book literally all year. I've been like, when can we pick this up? When can we just finish Crave? Like, I love Crave. I do, dearly. But this is 7 strangers, 1 stolen ship, and the whole universe on their ass. Say it. Sorry. But, I'm very excited.
Yeah. I'm really hoping it will get me back in the sci-fi mood because like I said, I have not tried to pick up a sci-fi since June.
Her writing on the back of this is so less adult. So, like, as crews go, we're a GD disaster, a princess, a priestess, a bodyguard, a prisoner, a con artist, a goofball, and me. Self-appointed asshole in charge of them all. Like, I am so excited for this book.
I'm curious to see how Tracy's writing style will convey through the adult series.
And also to mention, Fourth Wing, this is the book that's in the back.
Yeah, it is.
Starbringer is the book that's mentioned in the back.
Mm-hmm. So they have the same publishing company, which we didn't figure out until
and I realize now that Rebecca Yarros did take off a lot of ideas from Tracy Wolff, which then made me think, was it Tracy Wolff's idea or was it the editor's choice?
Yeah, it could have been editors.
When they were like, hey, no, don't make new chapters, it's exclusive content, do it in the point of view of that character during that chapter.
Yeah.
Because both Crave and, like, all of Tracy Wolff's books have done it so far.
Yeah.
And she's released new books with different characters' POVs. Like, I bought another Crave book. Not only did it have sprayed edges, but it had my favorite character's point of view, Meki. Yeah. So I'm excited. I'm so excited for this book. This is one of my most excited books for the new year.
It is a very highly anticipated book for us. Like, we've had it for probably half a year now. Yeah. Almost. So
very, very excited. So
we've
now
been hanging on to it for the right moment.
Right? And we're releasing it in Sci-Fi month of January. Yeah, so you'll see this coming up. If you want to learn more about the Ragtag crew, we'll talk about it in January. Mm-hmm. So jumping into our next section, I know we've been going by genre, but we're going to go into books that are releasing in 2024. We talked about books that are kind of already out. You could pick these books up now and start reading them. They're just on our TBR list.
I think the only two that we've talked about that are coming out are Crescent City 3 and the 6th from Blood and Ash. Yep. Those are the only two that are so far mentioned coming out.
We're going to hit two more. So the Primal Blood and Bone, we don't know when's releasing. I don't, at least.
It just says spring of 2024 from what I found.
In Crescent City, we know we're releasing in the end of January. Right?
Yeah, it's like January 30th.
So the next two books that we have coming out, again, most anticipated book of the year. I swear to God, if I'm disappointed, I will be very mad. Funny Story by Emily Henry. I told Laken we have to add it to the list because Happy Place was our first episode of the podcast by Emily Henry, and we both know we very much disliked that book.
If this is a bad book again, I think it'll probably steer me away from the author.
I'm going to have to give her beach read to get her caught back up to Emily, because I love Emily's other books.
Yeah, Happy Place.
The other three were good.
One I read.
Happy Place is just not great. But it also is just not great for us. I know some people that loved that book. And I'm just like, I don't know how, but okay.
Yeah, like we've said, if you like the miscommunication trope, you probably will like it. And if you hate it, you're probably not going to like it.
Yeah. So, it's called Funny Story by Emily Henry. I'm going to read the summary really quickly just to see, because I haven't read anything about it. I just saw it when we were looking into, like, books that are coming out that we want to read, and I was like, Emily and Henry, of course we have to read it. It's going to be one of the most anticipated books of the year. Of course it is. Book by Emily Henry. Here we go. Summary. Back. Where are you at? Well, guys, come on. I just want the summary. That's all I want. Here we go. A shimmering, joyful new novel about a pair of opposites with the wrong thing in common. That scares me.
The wrong thing.
Daphne always loved the way her fiancé Peter told their story. How they met on a blistery day, fell in love over an errant hat, and moved back to his lakeside hometown to begin their life together. He really was good at telling it right up until the moment he realized he was actually in love with his childhood best friend, Petra.
Oh my
which
God,
is how Daphne begins her new story, stranded in a beautiful Waning Bay, Michigan, without friends or family, but with a dream job as a children's librarian that barely pays the bills, and proposing to be roommates with the only person who could possibly understand her predicaments. Oh, Petra's ex, Miles Norwalk.
This is Oh shoot, I don't remember the book. It feels similar to it though. Whatever that is, a Colleen Hoover book.
Scruffy and chaotic with a penchant for taking solace in the sounds of heartbreak love ballads, Miles is exactly the opposite of a practical, buttoned-up Daphne, whose coworkers know so little about her they have a running bet that she's either FBI or in witness protection. The roommates mainly avoid one another until one day, while downing their sorrows, they form a tenuous friendship and a plan. If said plan also involves posting deliberately misleading photos of their summer adventures together, well, who could blame them? But it's all just for show, of course, because there's no way Daphne would actually start her new chapter by falling in love with her ex-fiance's new fiance's ex, right? God, that sounds like a whole hot mess and feels like a fake dating and feels like a forced proximity romance.
This is definitely a forced proximity. If it's the no other choice to have this roommate.
So, funny story.
This could go well,
or
this
terrible.
could go happy place.
Oh, so this is the most anticipated to find out if we're gonna love it or hate it. Emily,
Yeah.
I really, really hope this is a great book.
It sounds like it has
potential.
like a hot mess.
It's a hot mess right now. It has potential to be good.
As long as they can communicate.
If they can communicate and there's good banter between them,
I'll be okay.
I'm okay with it.
This does sound a little bit like the description of the Daphne. The description of the female main character sounds a little bit like the main character from Book Lovers.
Yes, it does. Buttoned up. She does a lot of, I will not lie, out of all of her books, she does a lot of buttoned up women.
Yeah.
Like business women.
That's okay. It's an odd trope, I feel like, but it's okay.
That's fine. We'll see how it goes, I guess.
As long as it's not wishy-washy, whatever her name was. I can't even remember her name.
Who, what name?
From Happy Place.
Oh, I don't know. I don't remember.
I remember the guy's name because it was weird. I don't remember her name.
Alright, on to the next read. You're going to say the name. I'll read the summary whenever you're ready.
Is it the thriller?
Yeah, we're on a thriller. Because we only have one romance. There's not a lot of romances that are coming out, not going to lie. I think there was one by Allie Hazelwood. But I'm not, like, super excited. I'm not, like, over the moon excited about it. So.
But we're very excited for this one because we found out that we absolutely love this author from a book we read this year. So this one is coming out in June of 2024, and
June 18th.
June 18th, 2024, which I think is around the same time the other one released. This year. But it is The Middle of the Night by Riley Sager. So we read The Only One Left this summer, and we absolutely both fell in love with it and his writing. So we're very excited.
The writing was very fast-paced. It made me want to continuously reading, and the chapters did leave at a good cliffhanger to make you want to read the next chapter.
Yeah, it was very much true. It had the, like, what it says is its catchline is that it's like Lizzie Borden murders.
Yeah.
And it was like that kind of suspense of, this person killed their entire family and yada yada. It was just
a really good book. And the twist at the end, holy crap, did I not see that coming.
Which is impressive for us.
I didn't even think the person at the end, I didn't even think about them. And I was like, holy crap.
I didn't even think they were a relevant character.
Nope.
So I'm very excited for this book.
And they were like the biggest character in the whole book.
They were.
It's crazy. I'm very excited for Riley Sager's book. I also have the House Across the Lake, I think, up there with Riley Sager.
Yeah, you bought that one recently.
It's a paperback, but it's fine. The summary for The Middle of the Night is, someone's calling me, but I don't know why, so we're just going to close that up. All right, in the latest jaw-dropping thriller from the New York Times bestselling author Riley Sager, a man must contend with the long-ago disappearance of his childhood best friend and the dark secrets lurking just behind the safe confines of his picture-perfect neighborhood. Now, Laken's first reaction to this is, oh no, it's going to be Holly again.
I said this is Holly-esque, the fact that it was like something dark between their like picture-perfect neighborhood.
Yep.
That sounded Holly-esque.
And I'm not prepared for another eating cannibalism situation happening. Not gonna lie, not my favorite thing in the world.
I don't think I'll ever be ready for that again.
The problem with that book is not anything. Stephen King is a great writer. He obviously has 78 books now, I think.
Oh my gosh.
And he describes things in a way that when he was first describing stuff in Holly, I was like, oh, that sounds delicious. And then the end of the ingredient list was a body part. I was like, oh, I'm not hungry anymore.
No.
Don't want food.
That book
Good.
was not a eat. You don't want to eat.
You don't eat while reading that book. Especially don't eat a parfait. No. Okay. Sorry. On to the rest of this description of the middle of the night. The worst thing to ever happen, Hemlock Circle, occurred in Ethan Marsh's backyard. One July night, 10-year-old Ethan and his best friend and neighbor Billy fell asleep in a tent set up on a manicured lawn in a quiet, quaint New Jersey cul-de-sac. In the morning, Ethan woke up alone. During the night, someone had sliced the tent open with a knife and taken Billy. He was never seen again. Oh, okay. Start off with kidnapping a 10-year-old. Great. 30 years later, Ethan has reluctantly returned to his childhood home. Plagued by bad dreams and insomnia, he begins to notice strange things happening in the middle of the night. Someone says to be roaming the cul-de-sac at odd hours, and signs of Billy's presence keep appearing in Ethan's backyard. Is someone playing a cruel prank, or has Billy, long thought to be dead, somehow returned to the Hemlock Circle? The mystery occurrences prompt Ethan to investigate what really happened that night, a quest that reunites him with former friends and neighbors and leads him into the woods that surround Hemlock Circle. Woods where Billy claimed ghosts roamed and where mysterious institution does, that word is beyond me, clandestine research on a crumbling estate? I don't know.
I don't know what you're looking at.
It's Clandestine.
Let me see it.
This is beyond me.
Oh, I don't even. Clandestine?
That's fine. The closer Ethan gets to the...
Oh. Is there something else I can help with?
No, Siri.
Siri, shh. Thank you.
She keeps butting in.
You're welcome.
For those who could hear Siri, she's here. She's just being close. Now, the closer Ethan gets to the truth, the more he realizes there's no place, be it quiet forest or suburban street, is completely safe, and the past has a way of haunting the present. So, what the heck happened to Billy?
I don't know. It sounds interesting.
In the middle of the night.
I'm very excited for this.
Yeah, I'm very excited to have him. That's... I don't like that.
think it's going to be cannibalism after hearing the rest of it.
I'm very excited that it's hopefully, if Billy has to still be around, or hopefully,
yeah.
I don't know.
This sounds a little bit like what happened with The Only One Left, though, where he kind of like hinted at possible ghosts, and we were like, halfway through the book, we were like,
Ghosts? Ghosts?
Maybe, yes.
No, I feel like Riley Sagan's really good at doing the Scooby-Doo writing.
That's a good way
that's
to put
why
it.
it makes it cozy.
Yeah.
A cozy thriller, and that's why when we did our last episode about cozy Christmas and reads, I had mentioned
The Only One Left.
The Only One Left, because it is more of a cozy, like, you could just sit down and read this murder mystery like Clue, because it's Scooby-Doo-esque.
And I feel like also, like, it wasn't a high stake, like, people are actively dying. It was we're going into the past trying to find answers.
Yeah. I don't think anyone actively was killed off. It wasn't like a slasher by any means, but there was
one character
was
that
good.
was actively killed off, but it still happened before the book.
Yeah,
started.
before the main character was there. Now, the last book that we have on our list, we have one book left that we don't even know if it's releasing in 2014.
Oh yeah, I was like, which book is this?
Fingers are crossed that it does, but we don't want to rush Rebecca.
Yes.
And by Rebecca, we mean Yaros. For all of those out there. The Iron Flame Empyrean series. The next book in the Fourth Ring series.
Yes.
We're just going to say the first book. Because,
the third one.
Yeah, the third book.
It's been hinted, I think. I saw somewhere maybe December 2024. I'm not positive on that. And honestly, I'm kind of hoping it's not. Because I do not want this book to be rushed. I want it to be good.
Yeah, I agree. I want it to be written well. I want answers, but I want her to take her time on getting it out there.
Yes.
Also, the title of the book is TBD. The release date's TBD. So if it comes out, it's going to be the most anticipated book of the year. If she releases a release date, it's going to be the most anticipated, no matter what's out currently. It's just going to end up being on the top of the list, and we're going to have a whole another midnight release going to get the book.
That was fun.
So I'm excited to see if that happens, because I need answers.
Yeah, we all need answers.
We all need answers. Because I've seen too many people being like, what if Dane's the enemy to lovers? And I'm like, why?
No.
Stop with those TikToks. Don't put that in her mind. Don't give her those ideas.
Don't manifest this. We're not putting this into the universe.
Because the writer hasn't finished writing. That means that there's no answers to their stories, because their stories haven't been written.
Yeah, the one good thing I do love about Sarah J. Maas is like she goes on like a social media ban whenever
Yeah.
she's writing because she's like, I don't want to be influenced by these fan theories.
And I agree. I think writers need to have the story play out how they want it to play out versus being influenced by their fans.
Yeah.
As much as I don't want her to kill Xaden and kill Violet and kill all of them, if she decides to, I want it to be her choice.
Yeah.
I don't want her to do it despite what the fans want, but I want it to be her choice.
Yeah.
Even though I'm like, I'll DNF the book if she kills Taryn, but
I feel like I don't know. That would be. That'd be too
I'm gonna
painful.
still want to know what happens. I'm not gonna lie to myself.
Yeah,
As much as I want to DNF it, I'll be like, frick.
the book would get thrown.
It would get. Oh, I didn't tell you, but me and Caleb finished rewatching the Hunger Games series, and I
Yeah.
told Caleb because we watched the last Mockingjay book. If you've read Mockingjay, which obviously you're you're listening to a book podcast here, Hunger Games is like base storyline for every middle schooler in the world.
I feel
You're
like
forced to read it in middle
you've
school.
either read it or you have watched the movies
Yeah.
at this point if you have an interest
But
in it.
I had to watch Mockingjay, the second part, and I told Caleb, I was like, I'm gonna cry. He goes, no, you know what's gonna happen. You're gonna be fine. I was like, I'm gonna cry. And then Finnick screamed for Katniss, and
It
she
doesn't
said Nightlock,
matter.
and I was like, I'm done. I was bawling in the living room. I was crying. He goes, how does this affect you so much? And because I'm like, your brain can't tell that it's not a real person, okay?
I saw that your brain cannot differentiate what you're feeling for a fictional character and like a real person. It's real.
It's the
to
same
your
thing.
Brain. So it's like we're actually grieving.
And Finnick was my favorite. He was my childhood crush, and Finnick deserved so much better.
Finnick was great.
The way he died in those books was, I understand why the writer did it. It was a flashback on what Katniss had to do at the first games to Cato when he was getting killed by the Mutts and she mercy killed him.
Yeah.
She had to mercy kill Finnick, and I get it. I understand.
As
Well, I
painful
freaking
as
hate it.
As painful as it is, it was a an explainable death in the storyline.
Yeah.
I hate when authors just unnecessarily start killing
Yeah.
off people to be like, oh, better watch out. I feel like that happened a little bit in the last Crave book.
Yeah.
Because so many people died, and I was like, well, now I'm just...
Yeah,
now everyone's dead, okay.
I'm not happy about... I don't know why. Finnick and Liam are the two worst deaths I've
Yeah.
ever read. Period.
I think I still have one that tops it all for me.
And it's this one.
It's not that book specifically,
But this series?
it is one of her books, yeah. Lord of Shadows, there was a death in it. I literally threw the book. It's the hardest I've ever thrown a book. Literally across the room. Not even thrown it down. It was across the room.
Yeah.
Wrecked me.
I can't. And book readers know, there's only a certain deaths that make you... If Meki dies, I told you.
Yeah.
If Meki passes away...
It's very possible.
I know.
I'm scared.
I know.
Poor Meki's almost died 3 times already so far in this
And
series.
I'm like, they can't kill Meki. They've saved him
Leave
so
him
many times
alone.
at this point. Just leave him alone. All right, so that is our TBR for 2024. Leaving on a not so fun note, but that's all right. If you have any book recommendations that you're looking forward to for the year 2024 that you think we should add to our TBR that you want to see us talk about, let us know. Comment below. I think we've hit everything that we have.
Yeah, all of our stuff on our list. We were gonna briefly mention a little bit of what we're changing.
Yes. So moving forward, I know we've been doing a lot of book reviews, deep dive book episodes. We want to change the podcast a little bit to be more inclusive. We don't want to take away that aspect because that's why we started this, as to be like an online book club so you guys could know what we're releasing and you could read along with us and then join in when we talk about the book. We still want to do that, but we also want to do more book recommendations, more TBRs, more discussions over fantasy, over general things, romance novels. We want to do a little bit more talkative discussions that are funner to listen to, where you don't have to read a book to listen to the podcast, so you guys have more time to read.
Yeah.
So we might be changing the way we post our Instagram to giving a sneak peek of a book that we're reading for that month ahead of time, so we can be like, join us reading this book. Yeah. We'll discuss on this day. And then you guys are able to watch that podcast with us. So it gives you time to read and you're not forcing. And it also gives us the ability to read our never-ending personal TBRs.
Yes.
Because you guys have met Laken. I don't know if you know this, but she recommends books a lot. And that means I have a lot of my TBR on top of my TBR. And I do the same to her. So we end up with this never-ending list. And then we also have books that we want to read for the podcast and talk about. Like the new Crescent City book, the new Iron Flame. Then we have Starbringer. And these are books that we are excited to talk about with the community of book readers because they're popular books. We all want to talk about them. Yeah. But we also want to be more inclusive and be a little bit more friendly to newcomers of reading, like what would we read if we were new readers, or what would we do, or how much would we pay to reread Fourth Ring for the first time? These kind of book ideas for episodes. So it's going to change up a little bit where we're doing more of these 30-minute episodes that are a little bit more chatty versus deep diving into a book.
Yeah. We understand that not everybody can read like a book a week, so.
Yes. And like, I know there's booktubers out there that are like, I read 10 books this week. And I'm like, dude, that's your job. That's all you're doing.
Yeah.
Others have 9-to-5 jobs. I personally have a 9-to-5 job. And Laken is a full-time mom of 2 little ones that are both under the age of 2. So that is a whole thing on its own that's more demanding than my 9-to-5 job on top of other things.
Our time is very few and far between.
Yes.
So, as most people have it, I don't feel like most normal people can read that much. Unless you're reading audiobooks. If you're like listening to an audiobook,
it's much easier. But
then you can do it while you're doing stuff.
It's still a lot of time consumption, and we just want to be more inclusive for everybody. We still want to do our deep dives. We're still going to do that on some books.
Just not as many in 1 month.
Yeah, we're probably going to be doing 2 books a month or 1 book a month, and then doing a little bit more chatty episodes, which we're both super excited about doing more chatty episodes. As you can see, that's what we're currently doing. Yes. So in January, we're going to release our end-of-year wrap-up. You're going to see this is our TBR episode. We're going to have a little bit more fun, chatty episodes. And I'm very excited to see the podcast move in that direction so we can be more of a place for people to kind of get more recommendations and just hear more about book content.
What's the word? I can't remember. It just floated out of my mind. More interactive. That's it.
Interactive. I like the flutter, though. That made me happy. I don't know.
That's what happened to my thoughts today.
I think it's just going to be a little bit more of different content versus the same old. We're releasing Holly by Stephen King. We're releasing Happy Place by Emily Henry. Yeah. It's less book, but more open content.
Yes.
We're
hoping to be more community-based and less into just the deep dive of the books.
Which also, we want you to read the books, and we don't want to spoil everything. So it's really hard to talk about a book without spoiling everything.
Yes.
And we want to give you guys time to read it. So that is the new plan. You'll see more of that coming into the new year. If you have any suggestions of episodes or things that you want to see us talk about, comment below, let us know, or DM us on Instagram. But I think that's everything for this episode today.
That's everything I have.
Thank you all for listening. We're going to go over the normal outro of don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, and hit that notification button. We post our podcasts on Monday at 10 a.m. Goes live on all the podcast platforms first, and then it takes a little bit of a hot second for it to get up on YouTube, but it does end up on YouTube as well for those who want to see us, and for more of hard of hearing, we do have subtitles so you can read along instead of listen, just to be a little bit more accessible to all of our listeners and readers.
Yes.
So, that's all I've got. Like, do you have anything you want to say?
Nope, just everybody have a happy holiday season
and
as this year closes out.
Have a good new year as well, if you don't listen to any of our other episodes. Farewell.